Nets be getting Kyrie Irving back at some point this season? And does Brooklyn need him to win a title? Just a couple of weeks away from the Kings' 37th birthday, is Father Time catching up to LeBron James? We'll tell you why we're asking. And strap in, because a Chiefs-Patriots AFC Championship has never looked more possible than it does right now. Isn't that something? Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, Kevin Wildes. Nick, foregone conclusion. AFC title game, Pats and Chiefs. How does that sound?
Well, I don't know. How is this supposed to be the AFC title game when Kevin Wildes told us months ago the Chiefs are not going to make the playoffs? How could they? How's that going to? Someone explain the seeding to me.
I don't know if you'll make it here.
I'm so confused.
All right, well, don't be. We'll get to that. We got to get to this. Monday Night Football, Rams, Cardinals, and advantage. Matt Stafford last night. Matt Stafford just diced up the Cardinals' defense for 287 yards and 3 touchdowns. Left it up to his defense to do the rest. They made life tough for Kyler Murray last night. He got sacked 3 times by Aaron Donald. He threw 2 picks, which led to scores for L.A. Rams win 30-23, the final from the desert. And just like that, the loss knocking Arizona out of the NFC's top seed. Take a look. They still lead the division by 1 game. Lots to sort out for these two teams over the last 4 weeks. All right, Nick, are you back to considering the Rams legit contenders after what you saw last night?
Well, they took a massive step in that direction. And Jenna, you mentioned the second biggest winner of yesterday's game, Matt Stafford. The biggest winner of yesterday's game, oddly enough, was someone not playing in it, someone who never played in an NFL game, Odell Beckham Sr., the biggest winner of yesterday's game. He looks like the smartest man in the league. What team's going to hire him as a scout? I don't know. We can talk about that later. But the second biggest winner is Matthew Stafford. I tweeted this in the moment. And then this morning, I was like, let me make sure I wasn't hyperbolic there. I said, we just witnessed the biggest win of Stafford's career. And then this morning, I went and looked, and I'm like, yep, checks out. Already knew he had never won a playoff game. Not only had he never won a playoff game, he had never won a Week 17 win and you're in game. He played 1 game in Week 17 about 6 years ago against the Packers with the division on the line. He lost it. The other years going into the playoffs, they had lost their final game of the year. This was the biggest win of his career. Now, that cuts both ways. The fact that a game in early December can be the biggest win of your career speaks to the lack of big games he's played in. But there's a huge spot for them. If they had lost yesterday, Broussard, mathematically the division wouldn't be over, but it would be. If they had lost yesterday, the only way for the Cardinals to not win the division would have been the Cardinals going 0-4 and the Rams going 4-0. So it would have been over. Right. Now, the Cardinals still favorites for the division, but they've got a real shot. And maybe more importantly, Broussard, the Rams, for the first time since the first month of the year against Tampa, they have a reason to believe the day after a game, we went toe-to-toe with a Super Bowl caliber team, and we came out on top. So am I ready to fully elevate them to the level of the Bucs, the Packers, the Cardinals, and the NFC? Not yet, no. But they can't be dismissed as easily as we had been dismissing them over the last couple months.
Well, why wouldn't you put them on the level of the Cardinals and those other teams you mentioned? I would now. I would have them below Tampa Bay and Green Bay. I think those are the 2 favorites in the NFC. But I would put the Rams right there beneath them. Right after. I'd put them ahead of the Cardinals. Because the Cardinals, obviously we saw what happened last night. They split the season series. Yes. I'll put them ahead of the Cardinals. They split the season series. We get that. You can talk about records, Cardinals maybe winning the division, all of that. But the Cardinals are attempting, and this is why I think, even maybe without knowing it, some people have failed to believe fully in the Cardinals, even before last night. It's because you rarely see a team go from not having made the playoffs in the last 5 years to getting to the Super Bowl. Now, of course, Tampa Bay last year, but they brought in the GOAT, Tom Brady, and some other players. But you rarely see that, especially with a young team, with Kyler Murray, a young coach, Kingsbury. So I just think that that is a factor. And as good as Arizona is, that's why everybody doesn't believe in them. And I think that's legitimate. I don't think Arizona will win the NFC or has a great chance of winning the NFC. I wouldn't be shocked to see the Rams win the NFC. Again, Tampa and Green Bay are the favorites, but I think the Rams are right there now. Yep. And you said it. You talked about Stafford. It was huge for him. You could try to argue Tampa Bay, you know, going against the defending Super Bowl champions, that may have been the biggest game of his career. But you brought up the ramifications in the division in terms of the playoffs and the fact that Stafford was embattled, right? Stafford, people were doubting him. Maybe people within his own building were starting to question, is he really the guy people said he was in Detroit? The Bud list, yeah, well, and motivated, and he plays well. You know, it's just true to form. But my point is, you said it. This was two things that made me believe, Wilds. Matt Stafford delivered in a big game against a very good team. And two, the defense for the Rams, for the first time in a long time, looked like that unit they were last year, which was right there among the best in the league. So those two factors make me believe now in the Rams.
Yeah, so about the defense, even when Aaron Donald is not sacking Kyler Murray, when he's getting holding penalties to push them back, that is just, he's so disruptive on that line. A lot of stuff is not showing up on the stat sheet. But what my biggest takeaway last night and why the Rams are legit is because they got better. It's because Odell Beckham is a fabulous player. We all knew it. And we had sort of temporary insanity when he was in Cleveland. Like, I don't know, maybe he lost a step. Maybe it's not all Baker's fault. No, maybe it was. Odell went for 7 targets, 6 catches, 77 yards. He scored a touchdown in his 3rd straight game, which he hadn't done since 2015. This dude is back on track, and it happened so fast. I feel like we all look like fools for even doubting this guy for 1 second. If we can look at his Ram stats versus his Brown stats, if I'm Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski, I'm like, oh, man. Turns out we let a all-pro caliber wide receiver walk. I only have one issue only, Nick, with Mr. Beckham.
Yeah.
Junior, not senior. Beckham Senior is doing a great job.
Yeah.
His whole departure from the Browns is because he took a sense of the moment and thought about his future. I think he needs to deploy that same philosophy when it comes to his touchdown celebrations. Last week, he did the Call of Duty Revive celebration, and the gamers were like, yo, that's cool. And everybody else like, huh, Call of Duty? Now, this one is based on a viral video, a self-defense video that a lot of people didn't get. What I would ask for Odell,
I didn't get
as we start to think about his legacy, start to think about his legacy, you got to go with the classic celebrations. You got to go with the Joe Horn cell phone. You got to go with T.O.'s popcorn. You got to go with Randy Moss mooning fans. Stuff that will play for eternity. Yeah, and Billy White Shoes Johnson, thank you, Broussard, has played for 4 decades. You can't have any more celebrations based on video games and viral videos. It has a short shelf life. Burns hot and fast.
Thank you. Okay,
you're welcome.
Listen, here's the thing. As the resident non-old guy on the show, Jenna's obviously not old. I'm only talking to the right side of the screen. Let me explain. Odell's celebrations are capturing a zeitgeist, the likes of which your, you know, what are you guys, boomers? Your boomer brains can't quite figure out. What are you, Gen, I don't know, boomer, Gen X, whatever you are. Odell, as a fellow millennial like myself, understands the moment. I don't know. Wilds' age is in the same box as his Blazers pick. No one really knows. He's somebody. Is he 39? Is he 54? Who knows? We can't quite figure it out. So like I'm not sure, but I do know that Odell's celebrations hit. And let me just say one other thing about Odell, in serious about the game last night, Broussard. Well, okay, Dave, what? You weren't buddy. You were not the demographic he was going for.
I had no clue what he was doing.
I was
like, what in the world is that? That's just a bad celebration.
Either of your wonderful
just because you never saw Billy White Shoes Johnson play, don't get mad at me.
That's fine. Let me say one other important thing about the Rams, Jenna, just quickly before we go. It should be noted, they didn't have Higbee, they didn't have Jalen Ramsey, among other guys. So the other stars stepped up. Kupp and Odell on offense were great, along with Stafford. On defense, Leonard Floyd made one of the most athletic plays of the season, and Aaron Donald was a game wrecker. For a team that's based on their top-level guys, to have Ramsey and Higbee out of the game, the other guys stepping up, that's huge.
4 starters.
That does speak to how good they could be. To Broussard's point, Jenna, that was a big part of last night's win.
Yep. Big win for the Rams last night.
Absolutely.
We have much more to talk about with this game still to come. We're going to switch gears, head out west, talk some LeBron James now. I hate to ask, I really hate to ask this with Nick on the panel. Is Father Time catching up to the king? I'm asking for a reason, because other people are starting to ask. We'll talk about that next. First things first, time now for Drawing a Blank. LeBron James recently became the oldest player with a 30-point triple-double when he did it on Sunday at the age of 36. But it hasn't been all orange creamsicles for the king this season. Injuries are starting to take a toll. He's missed 12 games already this season, and that has stirred up some talk about whether we've seen the end of LeBron at the peak of his powers. One anonymous scout said this: he's still dominant, but Father Time is showing. He still can't be stopped, but he can't do it for long periods of time anymore. I don't think it would benefit anyone if he was playing 40 minutes per night every night. He'll break down, which could be what we're seeing now. He's losing athleticism, speed, burst, explosion, but that's all Father Time. So Chris Broussard, an anonymous scout, saying Father Time is showing with LeBron is blank.
It's accurate, Jenna. I don't know what Nick's going to say, but this is accurate. Nick may say he looks like he did when he was 27, but he doesn't. All right? That scout was on the money.
Don't worry about what I'm going to say.
Some websites pick this up.
You say what you're going to say, buddy.
Some websites pick this up as this scout rips LeBron to shreds. I was like, let me check out what this scout said. He didn't criticize LeBron. He just said he's no longer the best player in the world, but he's still in the top 5. All right, his three-point attempts are way up. 7.5, almost 8 per game. That's by far a career high. And his free throw attempts are down 4 a game, by far a career low. Those are signs of Father Time. All right, defensively, he picks his spots. We saw him have some great blocks this week, but he picks his spots. We all know that. All right, he does load manage on the court and pace himself, which is what you do when you get older, all right? And the injury concerns, LeBron is one of the greatest Iron Men we've ever seen. But now there are legitimate injury concerns, or is he going to be able to play for a straight month and a half, 2 months, the rest of the season? All of that is Father Time. And I know, Nick, he was incredibly dominant this week, all right? He won Western Conference Player of the Week. But he did it against Orlando, who everybody other than Wilds understands is the worst team in the league, or one of them. He did it against Oklahoma City, which although they've been the Lakers' nemesis, they're no good. And he did it against Boston without Jaylen Brown. All right, so his numbers are great, but he's not dominating games, owning entire games for the most part, like he did every time out over the past few years. He did it this week against some weaklings.
Yeah. Well, so you, what did you say though there? You just won Western Conference Player of the Week.
Against some weaklings.
So I guess my answer is this is bad timing. Because LeBron, since he's back from his suspension, that ridiculous suspension, I think there might be some litigation, surrounding it. He's averaging a humble 37 and 8. And LeBron, for the record this year, 6 guys in the whole league have scored 30 or more times than LeBron, despite the fact that he's missed a dozen games. So I do think, is LeBron the best player in the league? No, I don't think he is. I said at the beginning of the year, I think it's Giannis. But I think the demise of LeBron James has been slightly overrated. Could we maybe have a blind stat panel if we could? LeBron compared to someone, nobody would argue Father Time's catching up. So one of these people is LeBron, one of these people is not. I don't know which of those two sides you like better. I think the guy on the left, more rebounds, more assists, slightly fewer points, but more efficient. Who's the guy on the right? Oh my God, America's sweetheart. Show me Steph Curry. Is Steph the league MVP? He might be. Is he as good as LeBron? Nope. Has he ever been? Nope. Where's the article about Steph? I'm just asking. Is Father Time? Was the record weighing too heavily on Wardell, Stephen Curry? Who knows? I know this. Folks were asking the same as this guy was typing out his Time is catching up to LeBron James article. Other people were writing this article. Is Steph Curry going to hit 16 threes tonight? Turns out no, or with the next game, or the game after. But maybe the fourth time will be the charm for Steph in the record tonight at Madison Square Garden. So maybe, just maybe, Wilds, we're still holding LeBron to a slightly different standard than we even hold Steph Curry to, who might win league MVP this year. Maybe. Just a thought.
All right, so my question is this. My answer is load management, question mark. So LeBron's field goal percentage is up, three-point percentage is up, blocks are up, points are 26.3, his career 27. So everyone's saying, Broussard, Father Time, that's nonsense. But can we sort of meet in the middle? Do you think that because LeBron has had so much vacation time during this year, that time off is fueling these good stats? Whether it's the suspension, whether it's the false COVID positive, whether it's the little injuries that he's been able to recover from. And if you think that's true, do you think that the Lakers should bake in more load management so when he is on the court, he can put up strong numbers?
I think that's a great question, and it's a great point, Wilds. Yes, I do think this is helping LeBron, the fact that he's been off. We remember the last championship. He had a 4-month break. There's no doubt that he benefited from that and was tremendous all the way through the bubble.
That's right.
So I'm with you. Look, I'm not a fan of load management, but at LeBron's age, it's warranted. We all would understand it. He's in his 19th year. I think it would be smart. Make sure you keep him fresh, because when he's out there, he's going to play. He's averaging almost 37 minutes a game, which is his most in like 4 years. So he's going to play big minutes on the nights he plays. But I do think some load management will be wise. Let me throw this out at you guys too. And Nick, I want your view on this. I think it is, and you see LeBron's numbers are almost at his career numbers. But I think it's easier. This is not just LeBron. This is league-wide. It's easier nowadays to put up big numbers than it's ever been. You can look at Luka, even James Harden, who's having a down year,
and the pace.
LaMelo.
Sure.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pace, half of the shots, half a guy's shots are worth 3 points versus 2. And all the three-pointers taken, what does that mean? Long rebounds. So you see more perimeter players getting more rebounds. So that's a reason why LeBron's numbers now can still match his numbers even at the height of his career.
It's true.
It's important to understand.
Surprising given all that Steph's not, averaging a few more points or assists or something, all those opportunities.
Lakers, by the way, have won 3 of their last 4.
Wow, look at you ripping Steph.
I don't know. No, I'm just saying.
Let's talk one of LeBron's former running mates, Kyrie Irving. Could he be returning to the Nets this season? Does Brooklyn need him, though, to win a title? We'll talk about that next. First things first. Talk some Kyrie, something we haven't done in a while because Kyrie hasn't played in a while, like at all this season. It may soon change. Report out yesterday from The Athletic that Kyrie might be back with Brooklyn. Check it out. Quote, there is renewed optimism around Kyrie Irving returning to the Nets this season. Sources with knowledge of the situation tell The Athletic. It remains unclear whether Irving's potential return this season would come via vaccination to meet New York City's COVID-19 vaccine requirement or by Brooklyn opening the door for him to play road games and practice at home. but sources have indicated a renewed belief that Irving could play this season after all. Goes on to say, in recent weeks, Irving and Kevin Durant, his co-star and close friend, have had increased communication about his fit on the team, breaking down the games, and about life in general. Sources added, there appears to be an increased level of enthusiasm between the two superstars. All right, Chris Broussard, how do you think the Nets how should they handle Kyrie the rest of the season?
Well, look, we're going to assume for this discussion, right, that Kyrie's not getting vaccinated. So now you're just talking about, do you think about bringing him back for road games and practices at home? And look, when they suspended him or, told him go away, don't even play road games even though you're eligible, I was all for it. I was completely supportive of it because I thought it would mess up their chemistry if he was jumping in and out of the lineup. And much of my thought was based around James Harden. Number one, I thought James Harden was still the James Harden we've all come to know and love over the past decade. All right, the guy that I think Nick had him at top 5 in your tiers, right? A top 5 player, clearly. Yeah. So even top without 6. Kyrie, the thought was you had 2 top 5, top 6 players in the world. And that I felt was enough. Like, I totally felt they could still win the championship. Wasn't guaranteed, but still very capable of winning the championship with just Harden and Durant. And I thought popping Kyrie in and out, Harden, when he's not there, Harden's got to be the old school Harden, more aggressive, scoring more points. And then when Kyrie comes back, now he's the playmaker, he's the third scorer, he's getting everybody involved. I thought that'd be a lot to decipher for Harden. But it looks like James Harden, number one, is not what he used to be. And number two, is going to play the same way whether Kyrie's there or not. And that is to be deferential. All right, he's not nearly as aggressive as he's been over the past decade. He's averaging 14 shots a game. That's his lowest in the last 10 years since he left Oklahoma City. So my point is this. Harden looks like he's going to play the same way whether Kyrie's there or not. And so here's what I do if I'm the Nets, because I know they got the best record in the East, Nick. And I'm sorry being long-winded. But they haven't been able to beat the good teams. They're 0-6 against Miami, Milwaukee, Golden State, Phoenix, and Chicago. They've been beating up on middling and bad teams all year long. They've had the 4th easiest schedule in the league. I don't think they can win the championship as they are. So if I'm the Nets, obviously, first of all, you talk with Harden and Durant privately. How you guys feel about this? What do you think about having him play road games? Then I would give it until, assuming they're on board, I would give it the rest of December, Nick. See how we look. That's 9 games. See if we look better. See if Harden's more aggressive, if Harden shows signs of being the old James. And if not, if we continue to do what we've done through December, then I would look at bringing Kyrie into practice starting in January. See how it looks, see how he fits, see how the team chemistry, camaraderie, attitude is. And if it's okay, and if everybody's on board, I would start playing him in road games. Because the bottom line is, this is not about making a statement or a moral statement.
You're nuts.
This is about trying to win a championship. And they look like they could be a better team with Kyrie, even if it's part-time. Because, Nick, they can't win. I don't think they can win the championship as they are with Harden playing this way.
No, right. They can't. They can't. I tried to tell you that before the year. I'm glad you're now coming over to my side of things. So I tried to tell you about last year. Listen, the Nets, it's a blind spot for you. I know it's your lifelong team, them and the Clippers. Have liked them since childhood, so I understand it's tough for you. I luckily don't have any type of, loyalties to NBA teams, players, or NFL teams or franchises, so I can just be, dripping in objectivity as always. But here's the thing. It was a bad idea 2 months ago. It's still a bad idea. Let me count the ways. First of all, this idea that, okay, he's going to be, forget the regular season, because as Broussard mentioned, they're the 1 seed right now as is. This is how we want to approach a playoff series. The idea of having a guy in a playoff series only able to play half the games of the series is anathema to everything we know about basketball. But you wouldn't even necessarily have him for half the games in a playoff series. Just this morning, CBS News reported the city of Philadelphia is changing its masking and vaccine requirements. The point I'm making there is that is a continuously moving target as far as is Los Angeles, is San Francisco, is Philadelphia, is the city of Milwaukee, are any of these cities at any given time going to have a city council meeting and say, by the way, whether you're visiting or live here, you can't go in this type of building in these type of circumstances without being vaccinated. So you wouldn't even be guaranteed he would be there for what you care about. You would be guaranteed, though, two things, Wilds. One is you would have the most upheaval, self-inflicted in NBA history, and you would totally be undercutting any chance, whether it's Nash or anyone within the organization, whomever the buck stops with whom. Is it Joe Tsai? Is it Durant? Is it Nash? Is it the front office? Who knows? To be taken seriously. Nothing changed about why you didn't want Kyrie there, aside from Harden hasn't been playing as well as you hoped. So now, go read those quotes from the team about why Kyrie isn't playing. What changed? Did how basketball works change? Did chemistry change? Did the importance of having one piece? No, nothing changed. You're panicked.
Yeah.
But it was a bad idea beforehand. Listen, Wilds, if I've got a good job and I come to you and say, hey, man, I'm taking my entire retirement savings and putting it on black in Vegas, and you say, Nick, that's a terrible idea. And then I lose my job, and I'm like, Wilds, I'm taking all my retirement savings and putting it on black. It doesn't all of a sudden become a good idea. It was a bad idea before. It's a bad idea now. Like, just because your circumstances got a little worse doesn't make the bad idea previously now good. So, no, you got to work it out with who you have. Having Kyrie as a part-time player is not going to work.
Okay, so those are very valid arguments. My case is pretty simple. A little Kyrie, Broussard, is better than no Kyrie at all. If he wants to just play away games, if he just wants to play games on prime numbers, if he just want to play on Tesla's birthday, whatever it is. If I'm the opponent, I'm never like, yes, Kyrie's playing. Yeah, their chemistry is going to be off. I'm nervous if I see Kyrie line up on the opposite team. And that's all the Nets really need to be thinking about. And just to counter Nick's point about like what changed, not only has Harden's production changed, Durant's minutes have changed too. You've got to think about it holistically, that Durant, I know no one likes to talk about the Achilles injury, but do you think it's wise? This is the last 7 games that Durant has been playing. 41, granted he was going for 50, so he stayed in a little bit extra. 38, 40, 38, 37, 40, and 44. They like joke around of like how much minutes he's playing. Like, I might play some more. Like, I think the workload on Kevin Durant is unsustainable at best, unwise at worst. Yeah, they're first place. Yeah, they've got the best road record. But Kevin Durant's lifting the whole ship. I think you got to take a little bit of weight off of Kevin Durant. And if he wants it, and if James Harden wants it, and if Steve Nash is okay with it, then I think everyone should be okay with Kyrie coming back. And final bonus, I'm also going long-winded, I apologize. I think it's better to have Kyrie in the building. He's not going to ostracize him forever.
What?
I don't see the New York City. There's no news. It's better to have him in the building if you ever want to have him evolve and get to maybe a vaccinated status. I think him being at home making sweatshirts is not the way that will eventually have him be a part of the team.
All right, well, I think your point about KD's minutes was valid. I'm not concerned about his Achilles. I'm not concerned about him getting injured. But you saw they rested him in an entire game, so obviously they understand the minute situation. Here's my thing.
Yes.
Because the big thing is chemistry. That's it, all right? There's no doubt you're better with Kyrie on the floor.
Yes.
And if you're better for 4 out of 7 games and you're still very good for the other 3 that you play at home, you're in pretty good shape, all right? It's all about chemistry. Yeah. And here's the thing. The only guy that it could affect is Harden. Because Durant plays the same way regardless, right? Give him the ball, he's going to get your buckets. Fine. All right, the other Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge, James Johnson, Nick Claxton, Bruce Brown, they're role players. Joe Harris, they do what they do whether Kyrie's there or not. The one guy is Harden. And Harden is now a deferential guy. Harden is now a straight-up point guard. Only shooting 14 times, getting everybody involved, one of the top assist guys in the league. You know, he's going to be that way with Kyrie and without him. So even his game isn't changing. So now I say, like I said, I laid out the plan, Wilds. That's the plan. Nick may poo-poo it. Give him December. Talk to your stars. Bring him in for practice. And then let's go.
I have a very quick fix. December 15th, right around the corner, you can start making these trades. I'm just saying, reunion special. Kyrie for Westbrook. Who says no? Kyrie and LeBron get back together. OKC's Big Three's back together in Brooklyn. They get the guy. Kyrie for Westbrook. Think about it. Think about it. Palinka, make the call.
I feel like
just
you know
make the call.
People who make that happen.
Galore, I'll tell you that.
All right, we got to move on.
Storylines galore.
You know people that can make that happen. We got to move on and get back to some football. How about this? Are Knicks Chiefs and Wilds Patriots on an AFC Championship collision course? Oh, what fun it's going to be on a Tuesday morning when we come back and talk about this. First things first, back here talking the balance of power in the AFC. Fox Bet Sportsbook and Nick have Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs as favorites to win the conference for the 3rd straight season. But how about the team sitting right behind him? The New England Patriots, led by the GOAT coach, Billy Goat, and a rookie quarterback, McCorkle Jones. 3-time Pro Bowl, LeVar Arrington's with us. You won the Pro Bowl 3 times. I'll just say it backwards. It'll all make sense. All right, LeVar, these are the 2 hottest teams in football right now. Who would you put your hard-earned money on to win the AFC? The Chiefs or the New England Patriots?
You know, I think the odds makers got this one correct. Listen, I want to say the Patriots, but you're still leaning on the fact that, think about this, they went into Buffalo and won the game without putting the game in the hands of Mac Jones. He's still a baby. Still a puppy that has to learn some of the intricate details of how to win the big games and how to win in the National Football League. I think it's a great story. I think this New England Patriots team is a great story. But if I'm looking at conventional wisdom in my approach as to who's the best right now, who has the most opportunity or the best chance to win it out of the AFC, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought it was a situation where it was broken, guys, but as of late, they've shown that they can now put the points on the board once again. And the one thing that I think is most dangerous about this Kansas City Chiefs team, where we're at right now, is they've learned to lean more on their defense and winning ugly games during the course of this season than what they've had to do under under Patrick Mahomes' time as the starting quarterback of this team. I think it makes them a more balanced, well-rounded team moving forward. They now know that they can win ugly games versus blowing them out. So I think you got to go with the Chiefs, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, of course you do. That's obviously the right answer. And I'd never heard it put that way. I like the McCorkle Jones as a puppy analogy. I mean, we could take it further. He won't bite your ankles like a puppy would, but he might twist them, you know, claiming you have the football in a wildly dirty play. We can continue this further as the season goes along.
Interesting.
But so here, look at Wilds. So here's the thing about this question. There is a team in the AFC that scares me a little bit. It's not the Patriots. So if we're talking about where to put your money, the Chargers at 10-1 are a far, far better bet than the Patriots at 3 1/3 to 1. The Chargers, while neither Mac Jones nor Justin Herbert have won a playoff game or played in a playoff game, Justin Herbert, you saw from the game he played yesterday or Sunday to his rookie season, this season, all of it. Justin Herbert strikes fear in the hearts of defenses, even the best defense in football, which the Kansas City Chiefs have been for the last 2 months. So if I'm ranking, like, as far as fear I would have about an opponent for the Chiefs, the Chargers would be one. In a weird way, maybe it's just because they beat them so soundly earlier this year. The Bills, if they were to get right, would probably be 2. And then the Patriots would be 3rd. The Patriots, you can't beat the Chiefs trying to play the way the Patriots want to play. You just can't. You're not beating them 17-14. And the Chiefs can play in bad weather and throw in bad weather like we've seen it. So no, to me, this is a non-event. I'm not going to act as if there is not a team in the AFC that causes some trepidation from me. That's the team the Chiefs play Thursday night. It's not the New England Patriots.
Okay, I will, look, if you guys in your defense roll over the Chargers, I will pull a Shaq on Hot Ones. I'll just be like, oh, I apologize, Kansas City. I am sorry. I doubted you. You guys are actually a very hot defense. But, and I know I'm a bad guy, Broussard, I haven't been overly impressed when you shut down Daniel Jones and Jordan Love. I'm just not. I know the numbers are there, but I think the opponents haven't quite been up to snuff. Here's the other thing about the baby
play the
goat,
hardest schedule
because
in
I
football.
get the argument. They played Jordan Love. Stop saying that. It's the most ridiculous argument that you make. It's like saying, like, oh, I've got a Lamborghini.
That's one
it's
game.
Like, yeah,
Wilds,
it's a
they play him every week.
Lamborghini, but it counts as a Lamborghini.
Wilds, did they play him every week?
Gracious.
We played 14
No,
games. Hold on a second. Wait a second. We played 14 games. How many games y'all played against Zach Wilson? I'm just curious. And Davis Mills. LeVar, we do that on this show. It's not a problem. I'm just curious, Wilds. How many times?
The starting
exactly. So zip it with the idea that the Chiefs' entire stretch of great defense was against Jordan Love. It wasn't, but go ahead.
That's awesome. But you know that the strength of schedule thing and the Packers is a different team. In any event, Broussard, here's the issue. What everyone thinks is a weakness for the Patriots is actually a strength. Let me repeat it. Everyone who thinks what our weakness is actually our strength. You know why? It's the difference between fighting a boxer and an MMA fighter. We know who the Chiefs are. We know you guys got the better quarterback, you got the better wide receiver, you got the better tight end. You don't have the better defense. And we have the rookie quarterback. But here's the thing. The Chiefs are the boxer and we're the MMA fighter that can box. So, look, if we're in a boxing match, we'll probably lose. But guess what Bill Belichick does? What you're not expecting. The Patriots can win in several different ways, and the Chiefs can win one way. The Chiefs can win one way. So Nick will say, "Oh, you can't. You're not going to be able to beat the. You're not going to be able to beat the Chiefs 17-14." Oh, really? I could have sworn Bruce Arians and Tom Brady just literally did that. They literally beat you exactly how the Patriots want to beat you. How are you going to beat the Patriots? Oh, well, we're gonna pressure Mac Jones. Like, all right, we'll just run the ball the entire game. We can beat you by throwing 3 times. We can beat you by throwing the ball 33 times. Maybe we'll run for 222 yards. Maybe we'll run for -1 yard and lose by 4 inches to the Bucs. There's a ton of different ways the Patriots can beat you because Belichick is a genius. There's really 1 or 2 ways the Chiefs can beat you. They're going to play good defense, hopefully against the Raiders, and Patrick Mahomes should play well. If Patrick Mahomes doesn't play well, the Chiefs go down the tubes. So that's why put your money on the Patriots.
Ifs and fifths.
I don't understand any.
Okay, look, Wilds, I would like to go with you because you're trying really hard. You came up with a nice argument. It sounds good. You know, it made a little bit of sense, but it's the Chiefs, clearly. And I like the Patriots. I think they are the second best team in the AFC. I also think, Nick, a dangerous team if they get into the tournament could be Indianapolis. All right, watch out for the Colts,
there you go.
too. But
it's
the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. And I do think the Patriots have the better defense. Even though the Chiefs is really good, I give a slight edge to the Patriots. Obviously, though, the quarterback situation is lopsided. As much as I like Mac Jones, it's clearly Patrick Mahomes. I said it yesterday. I'll repeat it. They could be more dangerous because they're more balanced now. Mahomes is a little more patient. He's a smarter quarterback. And I think the running game is coming along with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Nick, I will say this. I want to see, I'm really watching the Chiefs closely over the next couple weeks. Remember I told you yesterday, slow down a little bit. Because if we really look at them over the last few weeks offensively, they have been awesome against the Raiders. And for some reason, the Raiders don't like to run a lot of cover two. All right, but that's the defense that, I'm not saying it totally stops the Chiefs, but that's the defense that's giving them trouble. And against other teams, they haven't lit up the scoreboard the way they have against the Raiders. I assume they're going to see more cover two over the next few weeks. I want to see the offense continue to play well against that defense before I really feel like the Chiefs are totally back.
No, listen, that's fair, which is why I think some people, I'm not one of these people, some people think previous iterations of the Chiefs were better than this one. Luckily, in this discussion, they're compared to a team that just threw the ball 3 times. So whatever defensive machinations the opponent comes up with, I think the Chiefs are going to be at least a plus EV in the passing game. But I guess I just don't know what football season Wildes has been watching. But I guess I do know, because the answer is last season. Because his example of how to beat the Chiefs 17-14 was last year's Super Bowl, which has as much relevance to this year's team as pulling out the Patriots games from last year. None whatsoever. This idea, LeVar, that, there's only one way for the Chiefs to win. Mahomes has to be great. Buddy, you've been telling me all year Mahomes hadn't been great. They're 9-4. They're winning. I've been told the problem with the Chiefs is they're winning with their defense. So it just, to me, it's nonsensical. So this is an obvious question to everyone who, is not a Patriot fan or a Mac Jones relative.
No, I think Spagnuolo has done an excellent job with that defense. And again, to your point, Brew, it is the Colts that you got to be watching now. The question said between the Chiefs and the Pats. So I'm okay with that. Nick, you brought up the Chargers. I don't trust them. And it's because I think that Herbert is still young. I think he's still learning. And I think it's more of a on-the-fly thing with a new, first-year head coach. I think that they have to deal with what their issues are going to be. But when I look at the teams out there outside of the Pats and the Chiefs, it is the Colts. And the reason why I say the Colts, it's almost like if you really think about it, the Colts defense is as good as any defense out there, and they're starting to play well. Leonard and those guys have really started to apply themselves. You got the best running back in the game right now, Jonathan Taylor. And all Carson Wentz really has to do is manage the situation because he's got he's got a healthy group. His line is looking pretty good. They got weapons at receiver with Pittman and others and T.Y. I think the Colts are the most dangerous team in the AFC the way they're playing right now. But again, if you're going to go back to who you think is the one that you put your hat on, your money on, and you can sleep at night, it's got to be the Chiefs right now, today.
All right, well, let's think about Week 15. The Colts, who do they have? The Patriots. The Chiefs, who do they have? The Chargers. 2 teams we talked about. Should be a big week for them in the AFC. Let's talk some Monday Night Football from last night. Did the Rams prove they're back to being Super Bowl contenders? We're back after this. Celebrate Christmas with a boom. Fox Sports proudly presents a documentary tribute to one of football's most beloved figures, the coach, the broadcaster, the video game, all Madden, premieres Christmas Day, only on Fox. All right, we are talking the balance of power now in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs favored to win the conference for the 3rd straight season, but sitting right behind him, right behind him, the New England Patriots, led by the GOAT coach and the rookie quarterback, some call the baby goat, Broussard. These are the 2 hottest teams in football right now. Who would you put your hard-earned money on to win the AFC right now, Chiefs or Patriots?
Jenna, shout out to the Patriots. They're having a great year. The defense is stellar, obviously. Mac Jones is playing better than I think any of us expected. But this answer is simple to me. It's Kansas City. There's no question about it. I would give New England's defense the slight edge over Kansas City, but Kansas City's defense is legitimately very, very good. I won't go great yet, but they are a top defense. And then offensively, as good as Mac Jones has been, it's no competition between him and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is the much better quarterback. And I do think that this Kansas City team could be much more dangerous than even some of the past great teams with Mahomes because of the balance now. Mahomes now, I think, is a smarter quarterback. He's taking more checkdowns. He's throwing underneath. He's not always going for the highlight chunk plays. So I think that could bode well for them. Nick, here's the one thing, and this is why I was trying to stop you from throwing the parade yesterday. Okay? The Chiefs, the one thing I want to see from them over these next few weeks is them going against more cover two, because they've been dominant against the Raiders offensively, right? Because the Raiders for some reason, don't run much cover two when they play the Chiefs. All right, and Mahomes and the Chiefs have eaten them up. But against other teams that have played the cover two, even during the win streak, the offense has still struggled at times. So I want to see the offense light some of these other teams up that play cover two like they did the Raiders. Maybe not 48 points, but play really well offensively against them, because we know Belichick is going to come up with a tough defensive scheme for them to handle if they face him.
Okay. Here's the thing, everybody. If I told you at the beginning of the year, if I said, you know what? In week 15, the Patriots will be the best team in the AFC East and be slated for a bye, I would be laughed off this little chair. And the argument would be what you've heard all year. Well, the Chiefs have the better quarterback. The Chiefs have the best wide receiver. The Chiefs have the better tight end. The Chiefs have a pretty good defense. No way, no possible way could Mac Jones, a rookie, and a bunch of guys who are just coming together that Belichick has cobbled together from free agency, be the number one team in the AFC. But here we are. So what is going to change? The fact that no one thought we would be here is because of one reason. It's Bill Belichick. And the gap between Belichick and every other coach is so wide that you should put your money on the Patriots. No, Wilds, no. But what about the gap between Mac Jones and Patrick Mahomes? That is like a Grand Canyon. Is it, though? Are we sure? Can we look at the numbers? And this includes a game where Mac Jones threw the ball all of 3 times. I don't know, Nick. Is that a massive gap? Is that a massive gulf?
No, it says Mac's better.
Goat?
Mac's better at everything.
What?
So no, it says the gap is in Mac Jones's favor.
Decent
so Mac's
player.
Better. So Wilds, do you think Mac is better? Wilds, do you think Mac is better?
No, I don't. I do not think Mac Jones is better than Patrick Mahomes.
Do you think it's close? Do you think it's close? Do you think he's not better, but it's close?
I think if you are drafting for fantasy football, you should take Patrick Mahomes 10 times out of 10. But if you are drafting a full team,
for fantasy
you should
football.
draft the Patriots.
No.
Okay, good, because I thought you were talking about numbers and stuff like that.
I didn't ask about full team. You made this graphic. You decided to walk down this path full of bear traps that you're going to step into. I don't know why you keep doing this to yourself. So answer the very direct question. You showed a graphic that said Mac's better. Immediately folded your hand on, is he better than Mahomes? Now I'll make it an easier question. Do you think it is close?
I think Patrick Mahomes...
Do you think Mac Jones versus Patrick Mahomes is close?
No. Let me be very clear. Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback right now than the baby goat. 100%.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes is better than the baby goat.
Okay, good, thank you. Then you wasted
I'm not
all
in charge
our time
of the graphics.
having
I
Dusty
just put
make
him
this
up
graphic, and showing it. No, you requested it, but you don't believe it. No one believes it. So that's excellent use of our resources on the show. Now let's talk about your premise right beforehand. That if we said before the year that the Patriots would be tied for the best record with the Chiefs after 13 games, everyone would laugh at you. One of the things you said is people would be like, no way. Not with the Chiefs, and you listed the offensive things, and then you just threw in there. And not with the Chiefs having a pretty good defense. That's revisionist history. Nobody thought the Chiefs had a pretty good defense going into this season, actually. They thought it would be the team's Achilles heel. And a month into the year, Wildes was putting up graphics, once again, he didn't believe in, but were statistically true, saying, guess what? Kansas City doesn't have the worst defense in the NFL. They have the worst defense in NFL history. And now over the last 2 months, they have the best defense in the league. So my question to you is very simple. What do the Chiefs not do very well to great? Tell me.
I think play against Aaron Rodgers would be one of them. I never got a chance to see that. I know they do a number of things great. They play great defense against Daniel Jones.
No, what do they not do great?
Great defense against Jordan Love. They do a lot of things well. They win games. I think the Chiefs do a decent job.
So the answer is,
I would like to see them play against Aaron Rodgers. I'm interested in this Justin Herbert game.
That's great. Well, you know what? Luckily for you, we're going to get to see that in the Super Bowl. Like we should have seen it in the Super Bowl last year, if not for an egregious decision by LaFleur and an even more egregious pass interference flag that, of course, went Brady's way. But set that aside. Broussard, you know as well as I know that despite the fact that Wildes has decided to announce or to act like the Chiefs injected Aaron Rodgers with COVID or the day before the game to avoid playing him, that was just the happenstance of the season. Despite that, the Chiefs have played the single hardest schedule in football. The single hardest, with the second best strength of victory in all of football. That's just the facts. Take the Packer game out, Wildes, and they still have the hardest schedule in the AFC. So, Broussard, Wildes knows like you know, like I know, like everyone knows. The Chiefs are the favorites for a reason. Somehow their defense is about a push with the Patriots right now, and you clearly trust their offense more. I'll tell you this much, Broussard. I'm more scared, if scared used loosely, of the Chargers than the Patriots. I think the Chargers' upside Thursday night is higher than if the Chiefs were playing the Patriots Thursday night. I'll tell you that much, Broussard.
I'm going to give you two teams that could be dangerous for the Chiefs in the AFC. And it's not the Chargers. Yeah, their upside is great, but they're too inconsistent. The Patriots, because of their consistency, you know what you get, and you got Belichick. And the Colts, Nick. They can run the football. Their defense is stout. Their offensive line is good. Carson Wentz can manage the game.
And the 14th
but
that beat
Chiefs are
them
the
already.
favorite, and rightly so.
We got to go. We'll see you tomorrow. Undisputed right now.